We all know of the TV character PATRIC, right? If not, he is a very goofy looking character who looks similar to a Sasquatch. In this story, he is an interdimensional extraterrestrial banished from his home planet for being too goofy and what his kind considered dumb. He was a big joke even to the other PATRICs. Everyone thought he was throwing a gear in the works by being there, simply because they couldn't help but to be annoyed by him. No one cared for him and they celebrated his departure, only to search quickly for another punching bag. This is a regular thing on their planet. They find one character, always the oddest of the bunch, and use him as a global punching bag, getting angrier and angrier until they have to kick him off entirely for getting so sick of looking at his face. On planet PATRIC they really couldn't stand PATRIC. This PATRIC tried to be smart with foreign ideas that the PATRICs couldn't comprehend. On their planet they don't accept new ideas, especially ones they haven't heard of yet. So they are continuing down the same path towards their demise. PATRIC considered himself lucky he got banished, except the fact they shot him randomly into deep space with no controls. No food either, only a bunch of hate notes. PATRIC is very disturbed. He knows he's a true sweetheart in the purest of forms. He doesn't understand why his whole life he has rubbed everyone the wrong way, even when he tries his hardest not to. His own family was glad to see him go so they can look good again to the world. Poor PATRIC is adrift in space all alone, heading deeper and deeper into darkness. The light and the noise of his planet completely fade away and he feels like disappearing completely into the blackness like he never was. He doesn't have a single home to go back to or a safe place to escape to. All his memories are filled with negative thoughts about others poking and prodding at him. He doesn't ever remember having a carefree time in life except for maybe when he was a young kid. Even then his siblings couldn't stand him. He never had any friends and the one girl he had a crush on crushed his heart in front of everyone. He's had it up to here with everything and now has nothing but empty space all around. No one to even vent to. Back at home it was the same thing. The second he would try and vent, it would instantly set everyone off. The way they see it is they have so much problems themselves, there is no time for PATRIC's nonsense. Who cares about PATRIC and his make-believe problems? Oftentimes people would forget he's conscious with a memory and emotions. Long story short, PATRIC didn't fit in with his planet and it showed. The reason why is he doesn't have the same interests. All PATRIC wants to do is live and be happy but has never found a home. No one has ever let him just be himself. Everyone overlooks him and often uses him as a punching bag without thinking. It's just second nature. No one stands up for him and takes his side, even though he would stand up for anyone else in the same position. Out of everyone on his entire planet he is the most genuine, loving and honest. Even though others try and paint a picture like he's not. Knowing deep down everything they say is stretched and untrue, they can't help themselves but to try and turn everyone they can against him. Simply so they can feel okay about sending all their unwanted negative energy his way. They don't even know why he bothers them so bad, he just does. Since they all agree, who cares why? He seems to be in the way, let's banish him. The way the rest of them see it is, it's just loner PATRIC face. In no way could anything they do or say to him ever come back to haunt them, right? The truth is he is highly intelligent, just doesn't know it. His whole life everyone has always made him feel sloppy and dumb no matter what he does or says. So he just assumes he's dumb like the people try to make him think he is. As he is hurling through space he is in the single darkest moment in his life. Literally. In pitch black space and in the darkest of corners mentally anyone could ever be in. Considering how highly intelligent he is beyond darkness. In the darkness, however, he sees a light up within his brain. Suddenly he can see everything. Inside of his mind. He has been floating around for a solid 20 hours now and doesn't know where he is. He can't tell the difference between thoughts and delusions. What's real or what's a dream? Physically he is floating in space. Mentally he is floating in space. He has an epiphany and suddenly unravels the entire universe. He sees a planet randomly come into view inside of his mind. Earth. Suddenly he pops through the dimensional wall and Earth is right in front of him. His ship is in fact moments from entering the atmosphere. He burns through the atmosphere on a sunny day and comes crashing down in the USA. Just off the shore of the Florida Keys. After crash landing, his ship begins to sink. He barely manages to pry the doors open using his strong bare arms. They literally welded it shut on him. As if they didn't even want him to escape if he could. Thankfully, when he landed, his ship cracked in half, leaving just enough room for him to squeeze his goofy self out. He swims to shore and gets looked at like a Bigfoot on the loose. He's not sure where he is or what the beings are like here. It's a completely different world here compared to his. He had a purple sky and everything felt a little lighter. Even though he came from a hostile planet with a low planetary frequency, this one seems heavier and even lower. PATRIC is in shock and wonders to himself. Did I pop through to an even lower dimension? Already escaping personal hell, he doesn't understand why he is here now. WTF, he says. First thing he does is finds a place to hide and try and figure out where he is and what kind of world this is. What kind of beings live here and what is their system? Are they connected as one or separate, lost and hostile? Are they connected to other dimensions and know about extraterrestrial life being one of the functioning planets? Or is this a Class 1 loner planet? Even worse, a Class 6 violently controlled planet? These are all the questions he asks himself. Even on his planet they moved beyond money, had space flight, advanced technology, interdimensional travel, extraterrestrial contact, freedom to go from the inner planet to the outer. An equal balance system. He was the one flaw of their planet. The one punching bag. He thinks back upon how harmonious they must be without him. Meanwhile, back at home, the PATRIC solar system has been invaded by a hostile force preparing an attack on his home planet, who is preparing for battle as well. Back on Earth, PATRIC does his research and finds out this is a Class 6 planet in a lower dimension of thought. Which is strange because his kind never enters this lower dimension. Somehow being pushed into the darkest corner has brought PATRIC down to all new lows. At first he kicks himself, feeling really scared. How did I let my emotions get the best of me? Now he has to live the remainder of his years in a low dimension as if he's back in time. He tries to use his powers but can't. He can't fly, he can't levitate things, and he can't transport out to a higher dimension. Thinking about it, his mind doesn't even feel connected to the universe anymore. Somehow it just isn't working. He starts to panic. What is going on? What kind of reality am I in? This is why they have warnings to stay away from these lower planes of existence. He starts hyperventilating and freaking out. Why do I deserve this, he says to himself. He panics and tries to catch his breath. One thing about his kind is they are strong and are known to make the best out of a situation. He decides instead of panicking he is gonna look around and see what this world has to offer. He looks at the rest of the beings and realizes they aren't using any powers either. He starts to think, why is no one using their powers? Then he asks himself, is this the dimension where powers don't exist, or the dimension where they don't know about their powers yet? Making it a Class 5 in the third dimension. After walking around and flipping through the media, he realizes there is a rather simple solution he might just be able to solve here on this planet. He realizes the people of Earth have yet to figure out their own existence. They don't know what reality itself actually is. An issue him and his planet went through thousands of years ago. Before his planet figured it out, they were at constant war and were lost like zombies. Back then their powers didn't exist yet either, because with their former understanding they would be impossible. They then had the consciousness revolution naturally sweep them by storm, where they soon realized that literally anything was and is possible. That reality itself was and is held by the bars of their minds and the limits they place upon themselves. Back then they had what they call a consciousness revolution. They realized that the entire time they have existed, reality itself was and actually is consciousness entirely, or simply enough a shared dream. How they figured this out was very simple. They evolved into intelligence and realized the obvious after covering all the other angles. They realized that a single being can only be as smart as the world around them. That a single being would be nothing without the world around them in their personality or being is almost like a reflection of their surroundings and the people they were raised around. A person is basically a reflective mirror of the world around them. Everyone on the planet reflects each other's intelligence and personalities and continues the overall learning process of the planet as a whole, which can be looked at as one massive learning brain. By determining that there is really no difference between the beings and from reality all being a part of the same conscious experience, the final conclusion was reality itself is a consciousness generating being or consciousness itself. Otherwise known as a dream. In a dream anything goes. This is why in their reality literally anything is possible, even what the people of Earth's dimension would call superpowers. He sees that to the public of Earth the subject of otherworldly life is considered a hoax or not real, although there are what planet Earth knows as crop circles everywhere. On Patric's planet they called these, Sergi messages. Mostly being the flower of life or the shape all things stem down to, as well as the shape of consciousness in its divine state or form. Former hints to Patric's world that reality itself is consciousness completely, otherwise known as a dream. Patric realizes the people of Earth seem to lack the same one basic thing here, knowledge. Like watering your crops with Gatorade, it just doesn't work. What he sees is a quick fix to all their problems. The only issue he has is he's Patric. He doesn't even speak the same language. He also has a horrible speech impediment and has a very hard time expressing himself. He has genius thoughts but can't get them out in a way anyone understands. Because of this they just assume everything he says is crazy and dumb. The few things they do pick up are so far above their heads they think he's in imagination land. They then ignore him, unable to get past this. It's Patric, how credible is he anyways? No one has time. Plus he's always annoying and thinks he's smart. Back to his home planet. They are on the very verge of a full-scale invasion. They have spent all their time hating Patric for the last 10 years. They are completely unprepared. They can't help but blame Patric for this. Right now that's not Patric's problem. He is dealing with a situation of his own. He tries to leave a few notes for the leaders of the world, but to his surprise they get rejected almost instantly. He realizes these beings have been lost for so long they think reality is insane and not real. The people of Earth don't even think they are ever supposed to know or find out anything either. So they are carrying about their existences mindlessly without a second thought of what could be. He also realizes the current system they have set up is a corrupt system for control in favor of only a few in charge and who want to keep it that way for monetary gain. He realizes that the inhabitants of this planet are actually seemingly enslaved by their own minds, and the truth of their reality appears to have been hidden from them or yet to be discovered. Patric knows that reality itself is capped by the limits of the mind and knows the truth can set them free, literally. There are no limits in reality except the ones they set on themselves, which currently are a lot. Without knowing the truth of reality being, anything is possible, to them literally nothing is. The reality they currently live in is random and confusing, and no one can step outside the lines of their lives and their jobs. He can still see the separation of all the inhabitants with a complete lack of care for each other. As well as a complete lack of any meaningful knowledge, accompanied by a complete detachment from the actual and simple truth to their reality itself. Sort of like zombies. They also don't think they are ever or were ever supposed to learn or know anything, making Patric's mission that much harder. To them everything is a joke, even life itself. As if they are still in the amateur build-up phase of their existence without a sense of direction or hope. Patric feels as if he's back in the very beginning of time, as well as in a dimension without any meaning. He decides to help them out and pull together the puzzle for them. Using their own artists, musicians, movies and quotes to paint the full picture with reference points they can understand. He realizes there is something here which could benefit him greatly. As if it was made just for this reason. The Internet. He figures out the Internet and realizes it's a perfect platform for him to start building his platform on. Once it's ready he will then attempt to alert the world at the same time. He realizes the population is scared and shy to move forward. They don't know what's a lie or who to trust. It's not their fault that they don't think they are ever supposed to learn or do anything also, So they are attempting to make the best of life as is. They clearly have been kept in the dark from all the answers of the universe for quite some time. They don't even think there are any answers or anything to look for. Fuck sheds a tear over this and develops a huge sense of compassion for the human race. He does his absolute best to write stories, make music, and get his information out into the world in the easiest way possible. Wanting to write the human race a message to show them how important they truly are. How incredibly strong they are without even realizing it. He feels like he is in the worst dimension of existence compared to what he is used to. The people here don't even realize this and appear to make the best of it regardless, much better than he ever could. Making them actually stronger than PATRIC and the PATRICs on planet PATRIC. Little does he know, however, planet Earth is also in the middle of a giant secret war of their own, which hardly any of the surface world knows about. Behind the scenes, the rulers of Earth are in a pickle. Mighty extraterrestrials lurk just above, wanting disclosure of themselves and to free the human race from the darkness of unknowing. The rulers are pinned down with the finger on the dead man's switch trigger, about to end the whole thing. Thinking they are without hope or forgiveness. In a standoff situation, refusing to budge or change. The rulers are on edge and on high alert for anyone going against their plans. They don't want to reveal and don't want this to be the end for them. So anyone trying to help spread knowledge will be killed or taken out of society almost instantly and before the world knows about it. They are all about keeping the surface world down as far as possible in a lower dimension of poverty and lack of knowledge, accompanied by fear, anger, and sadness. They also want to keep the population dumb and fighting way behind the learning curve and completely hopeless. Hate is how they have come to control the populace by turning the people against each other. Information is the biggest threat to them, which could potentially unite the people and knock down the walls of ego and fear forever. They want to hold the people back and keep them on planet hellhole. So perfect for poor PATRIC, who simply wants to help the human race and make them feel special again, bringing the magic back. Completely unaware of them being there. The second PATRIC uploads his platform online, they are onto him. Initially they saw someone going against their plan and were going to snuff him out. Something stopped them dead in their tracks, however. Something about this situation seemed eerie. Who was this creature? Seeing him working with what he's got and attempting to save the entire planet from itself. Who would do that? A loner goofball with no one on his side, planning to stand up to the entire world with information no one yet knows. Simply because he knows he can. They are very surprised someone would actually take matters into their own hands like this and are actually interested in what he knows and has to say. They have never seen this before and it's throwing them through a loop. Somehow this misfit character knows so much more than anybody else and is painting the perfect picture right in time in regards to the behind-the-scenes situation in which he knows nothing about. How is this possible? What they see is a potential way out for themselves. As if PATRIC was planned by the universe as to get planet Earth and all parties out of the mess they are in regards to this exact issue of disclosure, as if sent from above. They are completely floored. They decide to sit back and monitor PATRIC from a distance. To see what he has to say. What they witness is shocking to both them as well as PATRIC. He attempts to pull an incredible message together for the whole world. Splicing it together like a DJ using planet Earth's favorite movie quotes and music along with his new information. However, there is a lot of movie references, quotes, and music planet Earth has to offer as to help paint this exact picture or message, as if PATRIC has all the ammo he needs already laying here. It seems to PATRIC in this particular moment that he was always sort of meant to pull this sort of message together for the people of Earth. Also, since PATRIC is using the people of Earth's own creations by tying them together into the message as to help paint the picture for them with references they can understand, it's more like a message to and from themselves before their graduation. Graduation into a higher global understanding or dimension, like, welcome to the real world. Jumping ahead, the final message he ends up pulling together goes so perfectly together that even PATRIC has to step back and take a second look. It appears that PATRIC has just pieced together a perfect puzzle planned by the universe. It appears that everything from planet Earth that PATRIC has pulled together to help paint this message, fits perfectly together, as if actually intended to go together the whole time. PATRIC's example: think of individual songs created by independent artists throughout the course of time, to eventually be pulled together at the end of time into the same final DJ mix as if planned from above, as to bring the individuals involved together at a final party, that they all actually helped to create throughout the course of time, with their individual creations tied together at the end. In this case, the DJ mix came together so well, it appears that all the pieces involved were actually made for the sole purpose to eventually be put together into this exact final mix or message, appearing that everyone involved was unknowingly working together the whole time just to create this final party. It appears that all the creations PATRIC pulled together were originally created just for the final intent to be pulled together into PATRIC's final message. For the first time, PATRIC begins to see life a little differently. He ponders, could we all be mere individual parts of a much larger production or being? Seemingly unknowingly even working together as one? As mere pieces or parts of a larger purpose, as to help play roles? Maybe as roles in our final message to ourselves? Possibly this exact message? Leaving PATRIC with a lot of responsibility as the final messenger or DJ. The group monitoring PATRIC begins to see this exact same thing, especially knowing what PATRIC doesn't know of the behind-the-scenes situation above PATRIC's head. They can see what looks like a bold puzzle being formed by PATRIC. In fact, they see this puzzle being formed directly around PATRIC. It appears that everything on planet Earth was meant to be tied together by PATRIC into a higher sort of single creation or message. They didn't know what PATRIC just figured out, no one did. What PATRIC has for the first time ever demonstrated is planet Earth, and the situation around planet Earth clearly appears like a puzzle and a bottleneck which ended up funneling around him as to create the final message to the people of Earth. As if he was always expected to arrive and complete this process for the planet. But how could this be? He realizes he is now the flipping point on planet Earth entirely, as if always planned. Before PATRIC entering the scene, this puzzle was invisible, as if PATRIC is now the perfectly placed eye of this puzzle. PATRIC's seemingly random arrival on planet Earth appears now as sort of a higher plan by the universe. As if being banished from his home planet was always supposed to happen so he can crash land here and save planet Earth. Which has apparently been always waiting for him to do so. PATRIC realizes that a big part of this message is now to simply reveal this higher plan itself that he just figured out. He realizes this newfound understanding could lead to a new way of perceiving reality and life itself for everyone. The people of Earth could be living life with the understanding that we are part of a larger production, purpose or being. All things falling into place as if there is an invisible guide to the universe. PATRIC thinks, after all, the way to a new reality is to reflect it externally after ascending internally or learning. PATRIC, being the advanced being who he is, looks up at the stars one night. Here on planet Earth it's hard to see them. He sends a telepathic message out into space asking for guidance and help. Feeling very alone, he prays to the universe. The universe responds by popping a thought into his head. Planet Earth is the last. He thinks deeply and realizes something. Knowing we are all connected throughout the universe as one single soul and consciousness. If planet Earth is in fact the last stop in the universe, this means when planet Earth begins healing, the universe does as well. Meaning even his own home planet will be affected from the inside out, raising it into a new dimension. PATRIC realizes that basically the universe is bottled down on planet Earth. PATRIC realizes the entire universe is now riding on him. He realizes he is solely responsible for delivering the final message to all of planet Earth, which is the last of the stops in the entire universe. He realizes the universe is about to completely change forever after he delivers this message to the people of Earth. He realizes this is actually the universe's final message. And he is the final messenger for it all. The final message for the last planet in darkness. He also realizes that everything being consciousness or a dream, that the people are actually creator beings. He knows that the beings' minds throughout the universe create or reflect reality as a whole, so when he delivers the final message of what reality is to the whole, he is not just explaining it for them, he is creating it for them, and they are then making it real with their minds, but it also already is real, making it sort of a paradoxical situation. making him actually the creator. Right in the middle of time. And a good choice as to get the whole off and spinning in the right direction. He also realizes that if he does not complete this message, then this process of creation of this dream will never come complete. Come to find out, we would never have existed in the first place. Meaning, apparently he was always meant to be banished randomly into space and somehow show up here on planet Earth. He was always meant to pull this information together and figure this out, as if he too is a mere part of this overall puzzle as sort of the final piece. He realizes and knows by information provided by his home planet, that this universe as a whole is designed to generate the thoughts necessary to create itself around the beings, so when the beings go the route to actually figure out their existence for what it is, they are in turn consciously creating their existence for what it is. Reality or existence turning out to be consciousness entirely or a dream. Reality itself being a reflection of the beings, making the last discovery self. When we create ourselves, he worries that he is not going to be able to complete this final process of creation of the dream. It's a lot of responsibility the universe has placed upon him. He also worries the people won't take it seriously and attempt to bury it and think it's a joke, trapping themselves in darkness forever without realizing what could be. He then backs up and realizes, if we have come this far as a universe and this is the final stages in the process of creation of this overall dream, then the future is pretty much sealed and set in stone just like the past. If this message to the people of Earth was truly meant to be created and tied together, then it was truly meant to be delivered. PATRIC also knows that since time itself is only a concept held within our current dimension or understanding, this means everything, past, present, future has already all happened. He gains a new sense within himself similar to patience called faith, knowing it will work out because it already has. He realizes he is the end of time's messenger. PATRIC ends up connecting a perfect timeless message from the people of Earth, which clearly demonstrates an invisible connection they have shared across time and space since the beginning and now to him. So who does this make PATRIC? Seemingly at the end of time, connecting a perfect timeless message as if planned from above as to open the door for the next dimension for the whole universe. The leap in consciousness is a newfound universal understanding that PATRIC is responsible to teach to everyone after being the first to just learn. The next dimension and leap PATRIC perceives for the universe after the delivery of his message is beyond time, completely known as the fifth dimension. When the universe escapes the third and fourth dimensions of time and limitations, he realizes that when he explains the fifth dimension to the world, he in turn is also creating the fifth dimension for the world. The fifth dimension is beyond time, being the fourth. He realizes it is difficult to explain what the fifth dimension is, so he tries to sum it up in a single sentence. The fifth dimension is the dimension of the imagination, capped only by the limits of your mind. Since PATRIC is the first and final messenger, now everything past, present, future is riding on PATRIC's back right in the center of time. This makes PATRIC the center dreamer and responsible for the entire universe's fate and existence. Long story short, he is monitored through the course of building this message. He has already prevented a massive behind-the-scenes war without even realizing it by providing a way out for both sides, the way out being him. Now the future looks incredible and literally unimaginable for all. He ended the secret standoff between the mighty extraterrestrials and the secret groups on the planet. Now both sides are waiting ever so patiently and eagerly for one last thing, PATRIC's message to get picked up and for the people to get it. Taking the planet and the universe entirely into a new dimension beyond the old limits or understandings of reality. As planned by the universe, turning reality itself one step at a time into a lucid or limitless dream now capped by the limits we place, which only exist in our minds. PATRIC pulls a seemingly impossibly timed perfect message together to and from the people like a DJ in the middle. Along with his information, it paints the perfect picture. He builds it up and then he finally delivers it. The dimension of the imagination is supposed to be fun and exciting beyond fear and limits, so he tries to make the message as fun as possible as to get the whole off and spinning into the fifth dimension in the right way, again by using their own imaginative creations and music to paint the picture. At first the people didn't want to hear it and acted like they didn't care. He was initially shunned just like he was at his home planet. After a few years of fighting through the people's egos on planet Earth, PATRIC found a way to make it into the public's eye, and they finally opened up enough to understand the situation. They then realized PATRIC has been right the entire time they were fighting him the prior years. They then learned something on a heart-to-heart level. After accepting information from PATRIC, they got over their egos in the process and now simply treat each other better. They learned how to treat each other with respect and appreciate their efforts, even the oddest ball in the universe. They learned how important they all were and are to each other as one single production or being. Everyone being necessary in the process of creation of their future. PATRIC realizes now that everything happens for a reason and knows why the universe chose him. It's exactly like the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. After PATRIC delivers the message, which it would be the equivalent to Rudolph landing the sleigh, the overall equation balances out and there is no more collective anomaly or misfits, just perfect harmony and peace for all. Planet Earth was the oddball, just like PATRIC was, as the two anomalies of the universe, meaning to balance the equation out with imbalances everything out. The people of Earth ended up being last stepping stone and the last in darkness, or the last to receive the message, as well as the holders of the bars of reality. In the last dimension, because it's the lowest or darkest, otherwise known as the worst. Reality being created from the bottom up. The next step is waking up from this dark dream and stepping foot into the light once again. The limits of reality are only set by yourselves. Waking up and realizing reality itself is a dream is the equivalent to waking up into a dream while asleep. Transforming the once dark dream into a limitless or lucid dream where you are fully in control as the dreamer, and can literally do anything. In a lucid dream there are no bars on reality, as it's capped by the limits of your imagination. You set the bars on reality. Planet Earth begins heal and step foot into the truth of their reality. In a limitless reality, attempting to climb out of the gutter in the worst dimension can be difficult. First, it starts with accepting the bold and simple truth that reality itself is in fact actually a dream and has been the whole time. You, the dreamer, are the whole point to reality. After accepting this simple truth, the climb then begins into waking into the dream. Transitioning it into a lucid dream one step at a time. Upon completion, limits of any kind won't exist. Neither will there be pain nor suffering, for the former things have passed on. Negativity of all kinds, along with death itself, end up dying with the old ways of planet Earth and stay in the darkness to be forgotten. PATRIC successfully heals planet Earth, and in turn the entire universe is brought up to all new highs beyond what anyone could have ever imagined. Right before the invasion of PATRIC's home planet, the invaders are struck with Earth's vibes. Suddenly they are on a whole new level of internal understanding and end the invasion right then and there. They even turn around and decide to work together for a change. Now only love, freedom and family exist throughout the universe. PATRIC was celebrated when he arrived back home, and they even changed their planetary name to PATRIC without a K. However, he didn't stay for long though. Earth is his new home. PATRIC is invited on stage, and the only thing he ever says is, "Better late than never, right?" I always knew this was a dream world, that is common knowledge. I just never thought in a million light years that it would be my dream and a dream come true. PATRIC is shy and wants nothing more than to finally find inner peace and be happy. Being the center dreamer of the universe and attached to the whole universe as one. Inner peace for both and for all were lined up at the same time. As the dream comes true for PATRIC, it comes true for all, because PATRIC is all as the one, we are all one.